Good morning from Paradise in Thailand again. Why do I say again? Because I just finished the potty training video. So I've been here for a little bit. The ceiling folks, last I reported last night, I thought they would finish this before they left, because this is all they have left. And then they will come back later and put the ceiling in it once the roof is on it. Because as I said before, you don't want to put the ceiling in, have it rain on the back of it, because it is sheetrock. So I believe I talked about, if not, I'll do this again. I talked about yesterday the whole dilemma with, they were going to put a tray out and then up, and then, so it's going to be 2 levels of roof. I thought that would look pretty weird. So after much discussion and waiting for Duke, the decision was made to either lower the whole thing down and keep it level all the way around, or slope the whole thing. My preference was to slope it. Just because by sloping it, as I said before, I'll run through this again because this is a new video if you haven't seen the previous one. This bottom red line is where they were going to put it. Well, this door opening is too high, so they were going to have to scab in a piece across the front of there, which to me was going to look wonky. Yeah, I like the word wonky. I don't think I ever used that before about 3 weeks ago, but everything's wonky now. Anyhow, that's where they were going to put it. And that line, if you watch, it's the middle line right here. Goes up, runs into the structure, so they were going to do a drop down and go over. I said, well, one of two things. We either drop the whole thing down to where those 2 red lines meet over there now. I said, we either drop it down to there and run one flat level all the way across, because this is already going to look wonky anyhow, so we just run it, lower the whole thing down and double wonk it, and just run it flat all the way around, or we slope the whole thing. I don't want a 2-tiered ceiling out here. 3.5 hours downtime for the ceiling crew because this is all they had left. Duke showed up, looked at it, said, yeah, that's fine, whichever way you want to do it. I said, well, then slope it if it's up to me. Because by sloping it, as you can see, it gets us back up above this door. So we don't have to worry about scabbing in that piece there. They got started on this. They got all the way across here. I made that closing video last night. And that video is the end of the ceiling series because they ran out of metal. They have a few strips left, but they're going to need 30 or 40 of them to get across here, and they only got like a dozen. So they're not going to come back now until it's time to put ceiling in. So they'll leave this like this, I believe. And when they come back to put this ceiling in after the roof is on, they'll just finish out the metal and put the ceiling in all in one stop. That's what I would do, and I'm pretty sure that's what he told me last night. I don't have what I consider to be goofy looking 2-tier ceiling. The other thing, a lot of conversation about this roof in the monsoon season and being able to get water down those 3 drains. Several people said there's no way it's going to happen. First row of material I want out of this vented soffit board, like right here, all the way down. So if this thing fills up and water starts coming in for any reason, up under the tile, or well, it's going to be a metal roof, so I don't know what's going to happen. But if we get water through that because it's not draining fast enough, at least it will have a way to get out of the ceiling before it just builds up in the ceiling and gets out here. And with this slope now, hopefully all the water will come out there, out that vented soffit piece, before it even gets up here to the sheetrock. I told Sompit, if it is a problem, I don't care. I will get a big freaking hammer drill. I will go out here and I'll punch holes right through that thing if I have to, just get the water out of there. Don't want to do that, but we're back out here in the corner. Nobody's ever going to see it, so I'll do it if I need to. So we are back to just the tile crew here now. And the tile crew are the ones that are building the pump house for me. Today they are ready to put beams above the door along that end and along here today. Well, to get these formed up and get the beams poured in them. Obviously they got to put some rebar in those, but I think by late today they'll have this ready to go. Get the concrete poured today. Hopefully Duke will get some blocks in here today because they got one left. Get some more blocks in here today, and then we'll be able to go to town and get the rest of this thing finished up. So I'm still not clear on what the plan is with this door. When he priced it out to me, he priced it with a set of sliding glass doors on, just like the front of the house. Not sure why. I think he threw an expensive piece of something in there just to make sure he had his bases covered. But I said, no, I don't want sliding glass doors in there. It's a pump house where I'm going to store motorbikes and stuff. So I said what I would prefer is a roll up like a garage door in there. And he said, oh, okay, well, that's pretty good because that'll be much cheaper. And this was in the conversation where I was asking about adding this door. He said, well, because a roll up door is going to be so much cheaper than a sliding glass, probably won't even have an added charge for that, which is good. But I'm not real sure how they're going to line that up. I know in the West, this would typically stick out here so the door could seal behind it. I have no idea how these doors work over here. I haven't even looked at one. So I'm curious to see how they'll end up doing this. As long as it's secure, I don't care. Storage for our tools and stuff are outside. And more importantly, be able to get a motorbike in here, lock it up when we travel so we don't have to worry about somebody stealing it. So today I've got to get to town this morning. I'm going to get the oil change in the truck. First one since I bought it. There's some other supplies I need to get. I am going to get the material to get over here. Put a sling on that power pole. A sling is that anchor cable that goes usually from 3/4 up the pole or top of the pole down to the ground into some kind of a concrete anchor. But I want to do that before the rainy season gets here because when he dug that hole, it was very soft under there because it was right at the end of the rainy season. I'm just worried that that pole, and you can see it kind of looks like it's leaning a little bit already. But I just want to make sure that ground don't get too soft and the thing just lay over on us, because if it does, it's going to pull those wires on the salah, and it's either going to pull the salah over or it's going to break those two power lines. Another hot one today. It's supposed to be right at 100. Humidity is already hot. I'm already sweating. It's only 8 o'clock in the morning. Not sweating too bad yet. So I'm guessing the next crew that needs to come in here is whoever's going to tape and mud this stuff. Again, the bathrooms, we're waiting on the tile for the walls to put ceilings in, so they might come back and do these and finish that outside steel work and then come back one more time to put the ceiling in there. I don't know. Don't really care as long as it all gets done and gets done properly. If anybody was wondering, these vented soffit boards have screens over those vents so you can't get the bugs and lizards and stuff in there. Okay, with that, I'm going to get in the truck and I'm going to get into town, see if I can get the oil change, get the stuff for that sling. I got a few other little things I want to pick up. About 5 o'clock, real short update. I spent most of the afternoon out running around trying to source the materials to put a sling or anchor cable on this pole. I got the cable and the clamps, and there's a welding shop here in town. I stopped in there and had them build me this thing here to bury in concrete to tie the cable to, but I can't find the eye bolt. I drove about 20 kilometers north of here where there's a supply place. They didn't have any. So I went over to Cantilac. Global House didn't have any. Went to an electric shop in Global House where I sourced that 25 millimeter wire for the generator. They didn't have any. Across the street from there, they didn't have any. Back to town, 3 other places, they don't have any. I just decided I'm going to go find me the longest bolt I can get. I'm going to take it back to that welding shop, and we're just going to do this and make our own. Soundpit's already talked to the guys. I don't know, probably Gat and Wood, I guess, the ones who did that electrical system over there, the poles and stuff for me. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but the wire comes through the spiral strap thing that holds it, goes past the insulator, and then drops down across that U bracket that the insulator is mounted on. The problem is the wire is pulled down tight on that bracket. I'm afraid eventually it's going to cut through that wire and short out. So while they're up there, I'm going to have them pull the pin out of those insulators and drop that wire down underneath the bracket on both of them to get it away from there. And then they'll tie, just like there, they'll tie the top of the sling in probably right near those insulators, maybe even between them like they did there. But yeah, we're going to get that done because I'm afraid when it gets soft in here, when the rain's coming, the ground gets soft, that this thing might tend to lean that way, as I said yesterday. About 10 meters of cable, that should get us right back down about here. I'll just tell them dig a hole anywhere here that they can without destroying my trees. And just run the cable up there, but we'll just dig a hole, drop that thing I had made in there, throw some concrete in it, let it sit and bury it. So there's not much activity, as I said. The two guys on this pump house are the only ones here right now. Here. I'm sure they'll take those the rest of the way off tomorrow. And then they'll be ready to start blocking. As you can see, they brought in some more blocks, so they should have enough to get that done. This door here, I didn't get an exact number. I did, but it was in Khmer, so I didn't understand the number totally. But it's 200 and some centimeters tall. They pointed at that and said something over there, but it sounds like the beam is going to be right where that top block is. They have a piece of PVC in here that I talked about before that will allow me to bring the pump pipe right through here. Again, 0 updates over here, so that's all we got. Going to be peace and quiet for a while. But yeah, it is actually looking like a house. Just hope they can get through the rest of it as quick as they did the first part. All right, I'm going to get over here, feed the fish, and get to water. We will see you all in the morning. Good morning, Paradise in Thailand. Yes, it's a good morning. I woke up. That's always a good thing. So I mentioned in the video the other day or yesterday or whatever it was that I was going to bring some foam out here and shoot up in these corners. I did that yesterday because by chance scaffolding was at 3 corners and the other one's just right around the corner there, so I don't have to push it very far to get it in place. So I went ahead and did that yesterday. Today I come back with paint to paint the foam. First corner I get up here, I start painting it, and a bird flies out of this second one over. Now I can see the varmint guard sticking up in there, but it's only sticking up about 1/4 of the way. The next one's okay. The one on this side's not too bad. But that one right there is down just a little bit, and damn birds made a nest in there. So I don't have the can of foam with me. I threw it away because once you use them, those nozzles plug. I've got another one at home, so I'm going to have to bring that back out here and shoot that second one full of foam, and then get back up there and finish painting it. But you can see I didn't get it all painted because when the bird come out, I just stopped, checked it, figure I got to get back up there anyhow. So we'll get that one foamed up. We did get the rest of these painted this morning. As you know, that stuff expands. I pulled out the extra, painted it up. They ain't getting in there for nothing. And that's the one I already had a nest in it. But back to these little, I think I called them varmint guards. I don't know what they're really called, but that's why it's important that those things are in there, because if you don't, I don't know if you can see them through there through that light. But if you don't get them in there, you're gonna have birds up in there. This one here, same thing, broke the extra foam off, painted it up. And again, I was going to wait and let the painters do this, but it's just one more thing I can check off my list as complete, and I don't have to keep thinking about it and trying to remember to make sure it gets done. So today, I'm going to get this equipment planned out in the pump house. So as soon as they're ready for me to move in, I can get over there and start work on that. I will get the filter and the pump and everything in there, get it in place, get the tank in place. Everything will be plumbed, ready to go. So all I got to do is just take the well, take this head off it, and just put the new head on into the building. I'm going to talk to Duke about the possibility of using these generator wires to power this room on a breaker box right here. I got to get more wire out of there somehow though, and I think my plan is to try to cut this tubing back here. How far does that go up in there? Because there's a lot of extra wire laying right here. Good evening. Looks like we're going to have another beautiful sunset in Paradise. A couple things before we get over to the house and see what they did today. Last video or earlier this video, I don't remember where it ended up. I talked about putting a sling or an anchor cable on this pole. Had the guy that helped us with those poles and wires last year, he come out last night and took a look at it. Let me add this back up. These 2 wires, when the guy earlier this year put those on there, he put them through the bracket, and the wire's actually rubbing on the bracket right there. I'm afraid it's going to wear through there eventually. So I want to get that wire down out of the bracket so it just comes off the tie, the wire tie, and just drops straight down here and get it off that bracket. So, Sumpit had the guy come out here to scope the job last night and told him what we needed. And he said, well, when you get the concrete done, let me know. I'll come and do it. Okay, well, concrete's part of the job. I didn't say that, but I'm like, so he doesn't want to do the concrete or what? I never did get an answer. But I thought, well, that's the part that I didn't want to do. I don't want to dig the hole and hand mix the concrete. That's the hard part. Putting the clamps on and putting the bolt up there isn't hard. The only problem is I don't have a ladder to get up there. So he left. I told her, well, that's silly. If I got to dig the hole and do the concrete, I might as well do the whole thing. After I thought about it a little bit, I said, well, on second thought, have him come out, put that end of the anchor wire on there. I'll find somebody else to do this, but while he's up there, fix those 2 wires. She said, well, I said something to him about that, and he said he can't do it. Something about the brackets, this, that, brackets, that, I don't know, but it's got to be done either way. To me, you just grab those wire ties that are wrapped around the insulators, pull them both back, tie them to the pole somehow through those holes, or the bolts or something, till you take the pressure off them, pull the pin, move the wire out, drop the pin back in, and release the cables. I mean, there's plenty of slack in them. In fact, there's way more slack here than there are on those. So I said, let me get this straight. We asked him to come out and take a look at a job that we need done. And rather than do what we need done, he wants to take the cable, put it through an eye bolt, put 2 clamps on it, go up the ladder, stick it through there, flip the finger, tighten the nut on the end because there's no tension on it, come down the ladder, take his ladder and leave. And I got to figure out the rest. Enough said. So all I really said was, this is exactly why I struggle with hiring local help. They want to do what they want when they don't want to do it. Whatever. Let's go over and look at this building. So there was a question today on the video about the sequence of events related to painting and tiling and finishes. He's saying we should do it like they do it in the West. I agree 100%. Put the paint on, then put the floor in and all the hardware and windows and doors, which is what I did when I built my lake house. But I said, hey, they don't do it that way here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to just sway the contractor. I don't know if the contractor read that comment today or what, but when I messaged him about it, he said, yeah, we'll bring in a skim coater. So they still got to do a light skim coat over everything. So they'll come in, they'll do that, they'll paint it, and then they'll bring the people in to finish the ceiling out here and put the roof on it. And I imagine they'll do this roof at the same time they do that roof because it'll probably be all the same people. But back to my little pump house. As you can see, they got this wall done. That wall's done. They ran out of bricks again. So they'll have to get another short pile of bricks in here to finish that. I'm going to say this is pretty close to done, but I mean, it's still not. They still got to skim coat it. And obviously the roof's got to go on it. I did tell Duke I didn't need a ceiling in it, but he said something in a message today that makes me believe he might be putting a ceiling in it anyhow. And if he does, that's great, but I didn't want to pay for it. I want to try to get by on cheap Charlie here. The other thing I did is the 25 mil wire that's missing. And they didn't leave me enough to get up the wall. So what I did today is I dug up that end of this generator wire, which was run way out and looped around and come back through. So the pipe sticks quite a ways out of the wall, and this had a big loop in it. So I dug up that end of it. I pulled the tubing off probably 1.5 meters of that end of it, and then the piece out of the wall I shortened up so we could just make a little swoop around, come back in. I collected, I'm going to say probably from that kink there to there, so probably about 1 meter of wire, which now is enough to at least get me up to a decent height to put a switch box in. But I got to talk to Duke and get with this electrician to make sure they're both on board with doing that. Because I don't know what these wires are. They brought these in here, and I think they were going to power this room with these. But to me, that's nowhere near enough to run 2 pumps and a light, outlet for whatever. And I still got to put a softener in here. I don't think that wire is heavy enough to do all that. It's certainly not heavy enough to feed a breaker box. But this 25 mil wire, what I'm thinking is we can use it to feed power out here for now. And then if I do decide to put a generator in, I can just put a switch on it to reverse the feed back into this breaker box and right back into the other one. In other words, I would have to shut a switch off on the other end of the incoming line and then power this end of it. if that makes sense. You electricians will know what I'm talking about, but I'm probably not using the right terminology. Those wires come out right here, and this is the feed to the house, so it's all going into the same box. So I'm thinking I should be able to put these into the main bus bars and attach these to the main bus bars to feed power out there. And then when I get ready to do a generator, just put a switch on this coming in so I can shut this off. And then feed power on the other end to come back and feed this panel here. And I'm 99% certain that'll work. So if there is an electrician out there that wants to criticize me, that's fine. But if there's one out there that's got some advice on how to make that happen, I would much appreciate it. Little boy pissed me off today. He was running around with his plastic hammer beating on my wall. Not really. He was beating on it, but it didn't piss me off. Kids will be kids. At this point, it looks like they're going to do the paint before they do the floor, which is perfect, which is absolutely what I would have done. And most of us, but they don't normally do it that way here for some reason. Just like these doors, just baffles my mind where you take nice, beautiful wood and do that to it and then have to clean it all up. So this is kind of what it's going to look like in the end. Once that's skim coated, get a countertop there, little stove, beer cooler, lounge chair, and I'm set. And a BB gun. All right, that's our update for today. It's going to be really slow for a while. I don't foresee anybody coming through here for a while. I just got a gut feeling it's going to be a week or so before many people come on site, and then it's going to be Sung Khan, and then it's going to be, so it's slow motion now. Late afternoon, I come out this morning, fed the fish, grabbed the parts to make a bypass for my carbon filter at the house there. There's supposed to be a big ceremony, celebration, elephant walking thing today. The village has been prepping for about a month now. So the plan was to just hang out at home till that thing got off the ground, and then we were going to go hang out with them and kind of participate. But they needed to go out to the jungle with the elephants first and do this walk back into Kunhan and then walk back out here. Well, they never got out of here till 9:30. They never left the jungle till, I don't know, 2 o'clock. It's going on 4:30 now, and they still aren't even back here yet. So she called about 4 o'clock, said, hey, you want to head into town? I was like, too late now, man. By the time they get back out here, it'll be dark. I need to stay here, get the plants watered, and feed the fish, do whatnot. So the big celebration didn't happen for us. Take a look at what they got done on the pump house, because they're the only ones working. I think they are ready to skim coat. So he filled this just a little bit ago, hand packed all this all the way up, and they got all the walls done. They did this beam and stuff this morning here. While I was out here, they were just getting started on it, but looks like they pulled the top floor and blocked it off. So the only thing left is right up here above this. They'll do that tomorrow morning, and it will be ready for skim coat. It has been really, really slow. Like I said, only these two guys have been here for the last few days. So progress is 0 on the house. I will say these guys made pretty good progress here for just being two guys and one of them doing 80% of the work. And that's all I'll say about that. A lot of people are going to say, why'd you put that big ugly thing right in front of your house? When I originally designed this house, that building was right here, 2 meters wide and over to there from column to column. I was having a conversation with one of the viewers online, and something they said made me think, you know, hey, why don't we move this outside, down out of there and free up this space? So we did that, and I'm glad we did now. Kind of blocks our view, but there ain't nothing over there anyhow with that farmhouse. And the view is out here, actually.